Congratulations.
Thank you. You're off the hook, Rich. You can go to the girls' game.
Okay, roll call, trustee Downing. Trustee Downing,
Here.
trustee Sprague,
Here.
Patton,
Here?
with my candy.
Yes.
Trustee DeDonato.
Thank you.
Here.
Trustee Ryan,
Here.
and trustee O'Malley.
Here.
And the village attorney is not present.
Correct, he's excused.
He is excused with the flu.
Not good. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, correspondence and announcements. We want to thank the Reynolds Foundation for a grant that they gave the Greenway Committee, which in turn comes to the village, and this is going to be used to purchase additional property along the southern part of the trail. And that amount of money was approximately $3,500, so a big thank you to them. Very much appreciate that. I want to just mention that again, with the weather that we're having, we're going into our code blue situation. And if there are individuals who need a place to stay, we're going to be asking them to contact the police and or the rescue squad. We've tried to put some flyers out. The police are aware when the weather gets like this, so they'll be looking for people should they need a place to stay. And we'll continue to do that. We have a request from the Lions Club to sponsor an autism walk on Saturday, April 18th.
I think that's the Kiwanis Club.
Is it Kiwanis?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the Kiwanis.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
Lions Club does a woods memorial.
All right, my apologies. And that would be for the Kiwanis Club. We're planning to have our annual walk on Saturday, April 18th. We're hoping to start at the Armory and continue down Church Street, Mechanic Street, River Road to River Street and back to the Armory. We also have vendors, tag sale items, food, and sponsors inside the Armory. This is the date that we would like to go for. And I remember last year they had the walk, so that was there. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Bobby? Rick, second. Any further discussion?
The only thing I wanted to say is I did speak to Gail Leva about this, and she happened to call my house, and I was talking to her regarding our race road information. So
Mhm.
This is all done on the sidewalk, so there is no
Right, I remember
no-
that from
no
last year.
road, so it doesn't come into play. So just
Okay, so it's
it
just
comes up.
walking along the
Yes.
sidewalk. All right. Any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Okay, we wanted to look at the schedule for Christmas tree pickup and the taking down of Christmas decorations. And where is the highway superintendent? He was here a minute ago. There he is.
Hallway.
On to you.
We're picking up trees as we speak. You know, a lot of people are going around picking them up, using them for bonfires, so, you know, the more they can pick up, the less we have to pick up.
Okay, we are not endorsing bonfires, by the way. Make sure that's on the record. All right, so anytime from this point forward,
Yeah,
trees are gonna
we
be
usually
picked up.
run Until mid-February, to pick them up. If people wanna take them to the transfer station, I think Chuck charges them $1 or something to get rid of them.
Okay,
We had to pay to chop them up.
all right, but you'll be picking them up.
Yep.
Okay, and how about for the removal of Christmas decorations?
Chuck is supposed to be doing that at some point this week, it thinks.
Okay, so that's moving forward then. All right. We've got some more here that didn't quite make it. Here we go. We have a request from Voice of the Vet. And Voice of the Vet would like to use the Wood Park and the sound system and bandstand for a Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home celebration on August 8th, 2015. August 8th. You think it'll be warmer than tonight? August 8th. Ah. Anyway, so we have a request to use the park on that day. Tentative plans include a parade that will kick off at 10 a.m. which will be followed by a recognition, a barbecue, music, some other types of activities and entertainment. Will probably last until mid-afternoon at the latest. And just looking for a good day to do this. So that would be Saturday, August 8th, for use of the park. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Ben, Bob D. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, we have, boy, we've got a race already. Relay for Life team, the Healers from Here, is again planning our next Lace Up for the Cure 5K run and walk this year. The date they are looking for is April 18th. Now, we're going to be talking about the route a little bit later this evening, but they are also looking to do that. So, Gail, I know you've been involved with the Voice of the Vet in terms of planning. Do you see any overlap, any problems from having two events on
Oh,
the
this
same
is
day?
this is the,
Oh,
April
April and
18th is
August.
April
Sorry.
18th is the Taiwan is,
I'm
The
still,
autism walk.
wait a minute.
the autism walk is
Don't
scheduled
confuse me with the facts here.
for 18th.
All right. Autism walk, there should not be any
Right,
issue
the other.
there.
Right.
No? Okay, sorry about that, folks. Anyway, we have a request for that road race and on April 18th. Is there a motion?
And what's the date, the time on that date? Is there a time?
There is not. So I am assuming it's in the morning, but we do need to verify that.
The last one was a morning race.
Yeah, but we've got some names and numbers we could check on.
Okay.
So once, we'll get that
The
clarified.
date, sure.
But with the date, are we good? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Bob.
Bob did?
Downing
Sorry,
did the
Bob.
motion.
Second.
And Bob Ryan second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. You keep piling them on here. You got another one? Okay. This is really just an update to make people aware. As everyone knows, we're in the process of updating our zoning laws within the village. And as part of that, there's going to be a combined training of the village zoning and planning boards. And that's going to be conducted by VNL, and those are the folks that are doing our zoning update. And that is going to be on Thursday evening, the 15th, from 6 to 7:30. And that is going to be held in the Armory. And we're hoping to be able to use the courtroom in the Armory for that. I've requested that through the town supervisor. There's court night here. That's why we can't use it here, so we're just making that switch. So I just want to make people aware of that.
Are we full on the zoning and planning board?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So again, this will be a training that'll get that kicked off and get people some information that they need. Okay. Just want to mention that obviously there's work going on the corner. I think everybody has seen that. And Sequence Development is going to hold an open house for the apartments in the Monahan building, and that's going to be this coming Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. So if you're interested in seeing what those apartments look like, show up between 10 and 12, I think. Yeah, it should be 10 and 12. Okay. All right. This is from the Rensselaer County Suicide Prevention Task Force. Please join us in our first ever Strategic Planning Community Forum at the Kraus Center on 2212 Burdette Avenue in Troy on Thursday, January 29, from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. And also at the Armory here in the village on Thursday, February 12, from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30. Who should attend? Anyone who lives in or serves the residents of Rensselaer County can join us. We're looking for various perspectives on the problem of suicide in our communities. Your input is valuable in helping us define the problem and develop solutions to reduce the risk of suicide. So there's information with that. Whoa.
Proceed.
All right, we went through a bunch of them. Okay. People to be heard. Charlie. High tech,
Best laid plans.
high tech.
Is it on?
No bu-
I hear noise. I hear something.
There we go.
You want to get a little overview, Charlie, of what this is?
Over at the museum, we wanted to put together something that would show people, to give them an idea of what you're missing by not going to the museum.
Okay.
It's 9 minutes, about 15 seconds.
Hoosick Falls is my hometown, and I live in the same house I was brought up in.
I think if you talk about quality of life, you will never find a better place to live.
When I came to Hoosick Falls, I was about 13 years old. I've got to tell you, when I came over that curved bridge, I really thought it was a magical environment right from the get-go. It was an instant love for this community.
When I was born, I lived in West Hoosick, a small hamlet just outside of Hoosick Falls. I went to a one-room schoolhouse when I was in kindergarten. And my father worked on a farm, and then we moved to the village because he ended up working in one of the factories in Hoosick Falls. The village is alive. It's like a living thing. It grows and changes just as we do.
Back in 1981, I was walking and I met Joe Miller, and he told me he couldn't sell his house. And I said, if you move into Miami, it'd be nice to leave your home to the Historical Society. And he thought it was a great idea, and within a week or two, it was all taken care of.
So my first experience was really in high school that I came to the Miller Museum. And to me, it was interesting because I knew the Millers. It was an amazing family who gave this amazing gift of community back to the community.
The museum offers a place where Hoosick Falls can look at Hoosick Falls in the past, look at Hoosick Falls in the present, and have conversations about where Hoosick Falls wants to go in the future.
The Miller Museum is actually a lot of things. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of music history. It's a lot of family history. It's a central collecting point for the community history. It's a lot of exhibits that are interesting, that are fun to look at. Maybe my favorite room is it's not even a display room, it's the room with the archives in it, with all the histories and the information, and the people that I meet here and the stories that they tell.
I touched a little of the history of Hoosick Falls when I met Grandma Moses. And when I went to visit her, she showed me cards she got from the governor and from the president, and I was surprised that so many people knew her.
Some famous people have been here, other than Grandma Moses, was the Everly Brothers, and also Harriet Hopter, who's a ballet dancer. And that was a long time ago, but to think that people that were known around the world lived here, actually lived here.
So if you asked me today what my favorite exhibit is here, it certainly would be the military room that's available. They have several of the different type uniforms that are here. They also have some very unique original pictures. There was awful tragedy here in town. Total of 20 town of Hoosick soldiers were killed in the same engagement in 1918. Seeing the original picture of them all being here just before they shipped out it's touching to me. Now that you know several of those men in that picture gave their life for the freedoms that we enjoy today.
Today at the museum, I was going through some archives. I came across an old playbill for an opera house that is in a building that I am currently working on with a group called Civicure. Finding that archive was really key in making the connection for me between the past and the future of Hoosick Falls and buildings in Hoosick Falls.
My favorite permanent exhibit here is an extraordinary collection of pictures that were taken inside the Walter Wood plant, probably in the late 19th century. Just as a sort of a fascinating look at what industrial life was like then.
When I think about the Walter A. Wood Company and all the people employed, I realize how important that was here in Hoosick Falls. We have that past. We have that to be proud of. This museum is a source for looking back at all that, remembering, or teaching people about it, so as we don't forget that.
I also find great connection with looking at photos of people in their businesses. You know, the smiles, the innovation, how hard they looked, the pride that they took in their enterprise, and the risks that they were taking. We are a community, we are a country of innovators, that's what started us, and I think it's completely reflected here in a lot of those photographs.
The role that the Battle of Bennington played in our national history was huge. That's a battle that should be called the Battle of Walloomsac, by the way.
Because the battle was fought in Walloomsac, New York, not Bennington. Bennington was smarter than Hoosick Falls because they took advantage of that. And it's one of the few battles in America that's named after a place where the battle didn't take place.
When I arrived here in the late 90s, we didn't have much of a base of financial support. What I did was develop a sort of a membership program in which we send out newsletters.
Our newsletter is our #1 outreach. And because of the newsletter, we've got so many people interested in history. My feeling is 20 years from now, we have a copy of every newsletter in a binder, and this is going to become the history of Hoosick Falls.
What Phil and Charlie have been very good at doing is they collect pictures and text and put them onto large historical boards and circulate those around the community. This museum owns a sort of a vast collection of stuff, and it's a real challenge to organize it in a way that's accessible to individual people who might be interested in particular aspects of our collection.
The Miller Museum is a wonderful place for genealogy. We have people coming from all over the United States that come to our little town of Hoosick Falls to look up their family tree.
We're kind of blessed to have a facility that has information that you're looking for, especially, the military information, stuff that I'm dealing on, and a staff that's dedicated to help you out to get your end result.
The Lewis Miller Museum is the resource to go to for anybody who's revitalizing a building or a space, because that's where you go to find out what it was and how you can respect that when you go forward in the future with creating something new in the space.
The Miller Museum is a great place to find out about the people that made this village, and the people who are making the village. It's a great link to the past, and it's going to be our future too.
How do we create some kind of time capsule to move forward? And I think the Miller Museum is the perfect place to do that.
The Miller Museum holds materials that are worthy of the attention of historians, not just locally, but historians interested in the development of New England and of the nation. And they deserve to be preserved and promoted and publicized. As we develop more friends and more people who are willing to help us, we get to a point where we can really do bigger things, and that's what I expect to see in the future.
The other necessary component to having the Lewis Miller Museum be here and be as integral to the community is the community needs to make a huge commitment to the museum. The Millers taught us about community. What they chose to do was to take their money and create a space, a hub, a community hub that could benefit generations to come, reconnecting us to our history.
The Miller Museum is a hidden treasure chest, and I urge everyone to come visit it.
Hoosick Falls is a place with both history and promise. The Lewis Miller Museum makes you realize that Hoosick Falls is a pretty cool and pretty important place in the history of New York and the country. And you'll find it all here.
Nicely done.
We can all
Charlie, that was terrific. Really very well done. We also, this is our copy, by the way. We also, this was also played the other evening at the Hoosick Rising meeting at the Community Alliance Church. Little bigger screen. Not complaining, Charlie, but a little bigger screen, and it really, really came across very, very well. So nicely done. All right, other people to be heard. Up, down, yes?
I was just raising my hand, you wanna go ahead, somebody else?
If you just give your name and address, please, for the record.
Kevin Allard, Hoosick Falls, Route 7. First thing, solar panels look great. I don't think there can be enough of them, so good job on that. Second thing is in November, I came here and I asked about the building inspector's report to the state for 2013. Has that been done? I don't want to foil if it's not done.
I don't know. Is Ed was he? There's Ed. Ed, do you know if that's been done?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been, but I haven't been looking for it.
Okay, well, if you would, let's take a look at that. We're in a bit of a transition with that position right now, so we'll look for that.
Do you have a building inspector now?
Yes, that's Ed King.
Oh, okay. He was, no, I know Ed was here earlier.
Right,
No longer here.
Ed King.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing I got was, I got your letter about C8. You call it PFOA, otherwise known as C8. In the letter, you say that it is a synthetic element.
Okay, this is regarding the quality of our water?
If this is about your letter.
Right,
That's-
but that involves the water.
To a point, yes.
Okay, we're gonna address that a little bit later in the agenda.
Well, thank you, and I'll keep that in mind. If I could please have my say.
Well, if you're gonna talk about the water quality, we're gonna address it in the agenda.
Do you know what I'm gonna say?
No,
Okay, thank you. So, it's not a synthetic element, okay?
Okay.
It's a compound. It's an organic acid that's mixed with a surfactant. Are you aware of that? And actually what it is a soap. And what a soap does is it interfaces between water and that molecule. PFOA
we're
is
gonna,
used...
Kevin, we're gonna be addressing this, we really will be.
That's great. PFOA is used in fluoropolymers only, okay? So it's not really a secret where it is. Are you aware the half-life on that is 2.3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. This is for the press. This is the findings that I discussed last night at the town board meeting. I highlighted what the probable links are, health links. Mr. Mayor, I don't think anybody signed on to a water system that's slightly contaminated. I think the tolerance on that should be 0. Okay, I don't think it's right to go out and say, even though there is some there, it's okay to drink. I think you should adopt a 0 tolerance on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to be heard?
Yes. Keith Simperley, 5 Gillespie Street. Where's the police chief? Harold, are you standing? You were standing tonight for Bob?
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you very much. I had a incident at my house involving, if any of us had an ex-wife or an ex-husband, to be fair to both sexes. They were very professional. They handled themselves perfectly. I just want to say thank you to Bob Ash, and thank you to Crystal Quell, if you could pass that on, Harold, I'd appreciate that. My only question about PFOA would be, the town board is now repairing the town pool. And as you know, as the board knows, you supply the water. Have you done anything to look at what it will do for, let's say, summer camps this year? If there is a danger there, are we doing anything? Will the water be supplied from a different source? Just something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Mr. Ed King, I didn't realize he was the now full-time building inspector?
He's the interim building inspector.
Okay, so obviously you're still looking.
We are.
Okay. I just have a concern with Mr. King, seeing how he's an elected official and he has 2 appointed positions. I think he's kind of stretched pretty thin.
Well, he may be stretched thin, but he's doing quite a good job.
Oh, no, he's a very intelligent man. I just know that when I was a supervisor, I had to write the letters for Mr. King.
Okay.
You know, if we're
Let-
paying somebody to do the job, maybe we should pay somebody to do the whole job. Not picking on Ed, I'm just
Not at all,
giving my 2 cents.
certainly.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
very much.
Anyone else to be heard? Okay, we're gonna hold on the treasurer's report. The financial report didn't get out till late today, and I don't think in fairness, people had a chance to get a look at it. So we'll postpone that till next month's meeting. We have the minutes from our special meeting on December 22nd, as well as January 7th, and I think everybody's had a chance to look at those, I trust.
January 7th was your,
The public hearing?
the closure of Center Street. And the other was your seeker.
Okay, so the special meeting was the seeker follow-up. And then we had a public hearing here regarding the closure of, the proposed closure on the Center Street Railroad crossing. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? And if so, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Bob D. Rick, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried, thank you. Police report?
Well, first, the year-end numbers for 2014. The number of reports taken for the year was 1,103. Number of arrests made for 2014 was 127. Miles patrolled, 34,548. That's approximate based off mileages tracked from oil changes. Last month's calls, total reports, there were 101. Requests for assistance, we had 3 lockouts, 2 found properties, 1 railroad check, and 1 property check. Auto accidents, that includes property damage and personal injury, 8. Drug possession, drug larceny, these are the categories. If there's something in the category, I'll give you the number. We had 1 drug possession with a canine search. Suspicious person or suspicious vehicle, none. Shots fired, there were 1 that was unfounded. It was fireworks, New Year's Eve. Alarms or open doors, 1. Traffic, we had 1 DWI last month. Domestics or orders of protection violations, we had 8 domestics. Endangering the welfare of a child, 4. Disputes or disturbances, that includes neighbor disputes, disorderly conduct, noise complaints, unwanted persons, etc. We had 8. Larceny, burglary, or robbery category, we had 5 larcenies. Aid to other agencies, for EMS we had 17, and for the fire department we had 3. Harassments, 8. Investigations, 4 drug use, 1 trespass, 1 adult protective assist, and 1 authorized use. Missing persons, none. CPS, which is Child Protective Services, none. Criminal mischief or trespass, 3. Rape, sex offense, or sex registrar, we had 5 sex offense cases. Assaults, 2. Warrant checks or warrant arrests, 1. Animal complaints, 6. Fraud complaints, bad checks, none. Death notifications, unattended deaths, none. Suicide or attempted suicide, 1. Mental health related calls, we had 3. 2 were mental health calls, 1 was an investigative call. Property retrieval, we had none. Total arrests last month, 7. 2 of those were assault, 1 harassment, 1 aggravated unlicensed operator, 1 warrant arrest, 1 unauthorized use, and 1 UPM, unlawful possession of marijuana. Highlights and notes from the last month. You'll notice our sex offense reports were very high this month, with several cases being reported to the department. All of these cases have been investigated, and resources such as SART, Sexual Assault Response Team, which is a team that we network with in Rensselaer County, and they provide doctors, nurses, counselors, psychiatrists to help us deal with the victims and investigate these cases. They have been utilized to ensure that each case is thoroughly investigated. And we will now, as in me, will be working with the code enforcement and the clerk's office, and we've created a code enforcement committee to work on a point system to assess violations with the building code in the village. And we've been very active over the last week in doing that.
Okay. Any questions for the,
Harold, did you want to mention the discussion we had about the community service workers?
Oh, yeah, we got together with the coordinator of the community service project, I guess you could call it. And now we're going to be working, I'll be pretty much the liaison between the courts and the police and the coordinator of the community service project. And we hope to have better results now that all three departments will be working together to get people assigned and doing community service rather than fines.
Right, and that's going to be on your reports?
It will be,
quarterly?
starting
Is
next
it
month,
quar-
yes.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
And we also discussed that the court would like to know what value community service offers, monetary value, to offset some of the costs of the courts. In other words, if somebody needs to do community service, there are some values that if we had to hire somebody to do some of the work that they're doing, there is some value, and we're just trying to track that, what that might be.
And we also provided a booth Saturday at the first annual Health Expo over at the Armory. And St. Cobain, I don't know if I talked about it last time, has donated what we call drunk goggles, vision impairment goggles. And several people stopped at the booth and put those on, and we had a pretty good time with that.
I didn't need to go there.
okay, any other questions for the chief? None? Okay, code enforcement report?
Okay, I've only been here probably around 4 weeks now, but we've had several meetings to discuss different things, as Cheryl mentioned. I had 3 fire calls in the time I've been here, 7 building permits, 4 apartment inspections, and a couple instances where I had to go to the people's houses and make sure they had trash picked up and stuff like that. So that's about it that I have.
Okay, and you'll research that report that we're looking for the end of the year?
Yeah, I've got it down on my paper here.
Okay.
The town does the
And I'll
same
see what
thing.
I can find.
Okay. Can you, Ed, would you just mention a little bit about what's going on at the corner, just to give people an
On the corner,
update?
they've got the footings all poured, and they're working on the walls. As you can see, the forms are up. They'll be making a concrete pour on one section, probably Friday morning, late morning. Depends on if they get done with what they have to get done. And it's coming along. It's gonna, this cold weather really slows you down. Snow there one day when they got their forms delivered, they had to be unloaded. And the only place to do it was on 22, so everything just takes time with the weather being like it is. It adds to the cost. But we made sure that the footings were poured on good sound ground, that there wasn't any frost underneath. They kept blankets, what it's called blankets, on top to keep anything from freezing. So, but as you can see, there's a lot of rebar in there, so that's good.
Okay.
All right. It's
Good.
coming along. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Ed.
thank you. Okay, clerk's report?
Really busy. Collections are good on the water, the utility bills. Little problem here and there with the software, but it's our first billing with it. Denise is busy working on the EFC paperwork. And just ordinary, everyday chicken calls and you name it. Chickens. handicap.
Okay, any questions? No? All right, thank you. Committee reports? Bob?
I don't have a lot, but last week the garbage was picked up one day late. I don't know if it was just second ward, but due to the cold weather, they must have had problems with their truck, so they were behind. So we're sorry about that, but. And the other thing is that New York State law, has passed a law on electronics that you can no longer, you're not supposed to throw them in your garbage, and if you do, they're gonna be fined $100. So I don't know how that's gonna work, I don't know how they're gonna set that up, but I don't know if they're gonna come back on the village, cause they pick up the garbage, but
Okay, we'll have to
there's
see
gonna
on
be
that.
I gotta find out, I'll have to talk to Matt Curley and see what the operation is, but there is a new law that no longer electronics in your household garbage or to recycle.
What type of electronics are you talking about?
Computers and stuff like that.
TVs.
Some people
TVs.
do
Right.
throw stuff in there and they're not supposed to.
Now, Bob, those electronics can also be taken to the transfer station?
Right.
And is there a charge?
No, there was no charge.
So they can be taken to the transfer station at no charge?
Take them up there and that way they'll keep us out of trouble. Hopefully.
Now, Bob, I know there was some discussion at one point, if I recall correctly, did they record your trash as it's being dumped from the curb into the truck, correct?
Yeah, they have cameras and stuff on the
Right.
trucks. So they, I think,
So they can track where it
right,
came from.
I'll have to find out. Like I said, I would talk to Matt and he'd get a hold of somebody from the county to see what they do. But they do have cameras in there to see what actually, I don't know if they actually use them, but they're supposed to, so.
If you put it in a bag, you're not gonna see it.
In a dark bag,
So it
yeah.
doesn't really matter whether there's a camera on it or
Don't give
not.
people ideas, Ben.
I'm just saying. You know.
But you might have something that
I mean,
can-
if you're gonna do that, you're gonna put it in a way that you're not gonna see it, so.
Ben, don't be
Well,
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Karen, you're still new to this? So we'll hold up with you a little bit, maybe next time. Karen's gonna be working on our finances. She and Ben will be working on the finance committee. Ben?
Pretty busy month in the water department. Couple of digs, one in the middle of December on Cummings, one on Church, and some working with Lane Christian on well number 3 in the towards the end of December, changing some wires on a wellhead. So busy month.
Okay, all right. Rick?
I still have not heard back from the Hoosick Trail Masters, on the, contract, for snowmobilers to use the northern section of the trail. I don't know if they're being held up by permissions from, Jack Catania to go through his property or what the thing is, but, what's that?
Can't get a contact.
Can't?
No.
Oh, I didn't see it back there. Can we, Ann, do we have his contact information?
We may have a number
Oh,
for
the
him.
mayor might wanna talk to him.
Okay, thank you. We've got a number.
We got a contact.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
get that done.
So, yeah, if we can, I know I have your dad's email address, and he's got mine. So if we can keep a dialogue going here, pretty soon we're gonna have snow here, and it's officially gonna remain closed until we have a contract. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Bobby?
Just a couple things with the highway. Looking at Neil's, I think you all have copies of Neil's highway report too, but the highway garage, we need to kind of take a look and address that. I know we talked last year and we kind of tabled it. We weren't sure what we were going on with dissolution and everything. So I just wondering if we should maybe set aside a time for some of the board members to get on there and take a look at the conditions of the
That can
highway
certainly
garage.
happen. Yep. I agree with you. I think we need to
So
put some
guys,
plans in place.
Take a look and see, because we know we definitely need to address it.
Mhm.
It hasn't been, done much since what? The building, how old, Neil? 1980?
I think it was 85, 86
So,
it was.
we're looking at 30 years and we haven't done any, we haven't done any major repairs, but we know there's definitely needs something to be done. So just saying we need to address that.
Okay.
And then the other issue that Neil has addressed as well is, as far as manpower. And I know this is probably not the place to discuss that, but we should discuss that at some point
Mhm.
with, with the highway employees, so. with our situation. So I just wanna bring that out, that's all.
Okay,
So we'll work on.
we'll work on both.
Okay.
Yep.
While we're on the highway, I just wanna thank Neil for taking exceptional care of our police dog. Because there has been some question as to whether it's suitable to keep that dog or it is, and I've been told that we should all be treated the way you treat that dog. So I just wanna thank you for that.
All right. Kevin?
We have advertised for a new code enforcement officer, code and building. We received back, as both full and part-time, we received 9 applications, some very good candidates, and we hope to start the interviews on Monday.
Okay.
Ed King's been helping me out with some of the questions we should be asking, and Ed's giving us a lot of guidance on that, so we thank him for that.
Great, very good. Okay, so you'll keep us up to date in terms of that. All right, thank you. All right, just want to mention a couple of quick things here before we get into old business. Want to thank AC3 and everybody who helped putting up the snowmen. We've got, I think, 22 or 23 snowmen, and there's a map right here throughout the community. The holiday season may be over, but the fun season is still here, and the snowmen look great. And they all have either a scarf or a hat, or there's some tie-in to the quilts. So if you put that together, so very well done, and thank you for doing all of that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the budget season is coming upon us. So I'm going to ask the department heads to have their tentative budgets prepared and into me by our February meeting, by our February board meeting. There's some changes this year in terms of the tax freeze, and I'm going to be attending a meeting tomorrow evening about this to get some more information, so we may need a little more time to put it all together. So again, department heads, if you would, we'll look at the February board meeting to have your tentative budgets to me. Thank you. Okay, old business. The LDC, the Local Development Corporation. I see Bill is here, and Bill is chairing that group. And at our last meeting, you will recall, I brought up the idea of transferring some funds to the LDC. Right now, the LDC has approximately $49,000, 48.
Well, we just granted a loan, so.
Oh, so we just went down, 42. Okay, but they started off right around 48, I think. All right? These funds are going to be available to businesses throughout the Hoosick community. Now, as everyone on the board knows, we, several years ago, the village was given a grant through HUD for monies to be loaned to low to medium income individuals and businesses. And we currently have, and I don't have the exact figure in my head, but it's right around, we have about $132,000 in that account. And we have not used that in quite a while. What I am proposing is that we take $65,000 of that 132 and transfer that into the LDC. That would give them an amount of about probably roughly $105,000, something in that neighborhood. We have been in touch, we've contacted HUD as to their views on this. They have indicated that as long as the funds are used for the same general purpose and for the benefit of the community, they would have no objection to this. Unfortunately, our village attorney is ill, and obviously he's not here this evening, but I've talked this over with him. And he would work out the details of what needs to be done with that. So what I would ask for this evening is I would ask for a motion to transfer $65,000 of that amount to the LDC, which would then make those funds available to businesses throughout the Hoosick community. I think it fits very nicely with what we're trying to do with Hoosick Rising and recognizing the potential of the greater Hoosick community. We can certainly make that contingent upon whatever the village attorney says needs to be done. So, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion from
Second.
Ben, second from Bobby. Further discussion?
Are you allowed to say what the loan was for that you just did?
Unfortunately, we have a confidentiality agreement between the borrower and the LDC, which prevents us from disclosing that.
Okay.
Bill, regarding that, how would someone go about, who do they contact, yourself for, or
Yes,
for an
you can
application?
contact me, my phone number's in the
Okay.
book. Email lymphguy@hotmail.com.
And people have also let me know that they're interested, and I have taken their information, their contact information, and forwarded it to Bill.
Just to show how busy we are, we granted one loan, and we had 3 more applications. This is all in a matter of 60 days. When I was here last, we had 1 vacancy. We had a volunteer, Christina Kovich, and she will now be one of the board members.
And how many on the board?
There's 7. We have 3 females and 4 males.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. This is gonna go a long way in terms of what we're trying to do throughout the community.
Dave, in conjunction with this, should we formalize any kind of tax incentive we might offer to potential new businesses as well? I know that there are we had some discussions with the guy who was looking into the specialty building down there, and we do have some guidelines and stuff, but I didn't think anything that not everybody's on the same page as far as the formality of what we could potentially offer.
Well,
It might be a good idea if we're trying to do this, to formalize any kind of a tax incentive that we
Okay.
might be able to offer.
The village assessor's not here this evening, but there is a business incentive that the assessor has the capability of offering. It goes over a 10-year period. I believe for the first year it's 50% off, and then each year 5% is added. So the second year, the first year you pay 50%, second year 55, 60, 65, so on and so forth. And that can be done through the village as well as through the town. That's already in place, it's on the books. If we want to think about some additional types of tax incentives, I would think we could certainly do that, and that would be something maybe to discuss through the Hoosick Rising piece. But that's certainly something to look at. And Rensselaer County also offers tax incentives through IDA, through their Industrial Development Authority, I think, or administration. So there are a number of those already in place. Okay, all right. Center Street Rail Crossing. We had a public hearing here last week. It was pretty well attended, actually, very well attended. Representatives from the railroad were not present. There were 2 representatives from New York State DOT. They also have responsibilities for the railroad in terms of communications and oversight. We had written comments from the police, the fire, the rescue squad. We had a number of citizens stand up. We had the Eagles represented. And the overwhelming majority, in fact everybody, I think it was unanimous, indicated they were not in favor of closing that particular crossing. I've asked Ann to pull the information together that we have. Oh, we also heard from the school, Central School, because of transportation issues where the bus comes in and they drop kids off. So both DOT representatives said that they heard us loudly and clearly. They're not sure if it'll even go another step. I was concerned that maybe once they left, we wouldn't hear from them, and suddenly we see a crew show up and they're closing down the crossing. And they said that would not happen. There is a whole process that you have to go through. So we're formalizing the correspondence that we have. I'm also going to ask this evening for a motion from the village board to be how do you do a motion that's negative? A motion to indicate that we are either in favor or not in favor of closing that, so that can become part of the record as well. But that's really where we are. Everybody that was here, and there were a couple of residents from Center Street as well, one anyway. It lasted probably about 45 minutes, and I think the point was very clear to the folks from DOT. So with that said, is there a motion regarding the closing of the Center Street crossing?
I'll make the motion that the village board is against the closing of Center Street.
So opposes the closing of the Center Street crossing.
I will second that.
Rick, second. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to say that I was really pleased with the amount of people that came out. Usually when we have public hearings, no one shows up. So it was really nice to see the attention, that people really took it seriously as far as that crossing, and gave good ideas about why it shouldn't be closed. Very, very important ideas about people getting from one side to the other, and especially talking about the elderly, which I thought was really important. And that now that that they've heard us, the onus is now on the railroad to take the next step. And nothing happens unless the railroad requests it.
Right.
So this may go no further than where we were at that meeting. Hopefully the DOT, and like the mayor said, they definitely heard us, there was no doubt about that, but it's up to the railroad to make that next step, and nothing happens. If they even do make that next step, it has to go before a public hearing and a meeting and things like that. So it's still a long way from happening if it's gonna happen, so.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item we have is a decision regarding road race routes. Say that 3 times fast. At our last meeting, we had 2 routes that had been presented by the Highway Department and the Police Department. We tabled it at that point because Bobby was gonna talk with the different race organizations to get some input. Basically, we have a normal route through the regular route that people have been running through the village, running and walking. And what was being proposed was a second route that would utilize part of the Greenway Trail down by the Little League field, the southern end, the most southern end of that trail. Then it comes up off the trail just prior to or just after the bridge. I'm not sure, but right around there, right?
Right.
Okay. So the Lions are most interested in having a decision because for these races that are coming up in April and May, they need to do some publicity. Runners want to know what the route is. I have no idea who that is, but it's just going off, so it'll stop. Okay. So this evening, we said that we would make a decision on which one of those routes. So Bob, you've talked to people. We have the 2 routes here.
Right. I talked to the people, and I was promoting what the highway department and the police department were advocating as much as possible to use the Greenway route. And there was initially no opposite. There was just a little bit of opposition. I shouldn't say opposition, just concerns regarding wheelchair accessibility, and the fact that there would be some areas of the route would be possibly have dips, and it would not be all smooth surface as far as the runner's concerned. And so that's the only thing I want to throw out there. I mean, they weren't opposed to they were all said whatever we choose they'd be fine with. But at the same time, those concerns were brought up. I think we have to pay attention to the concerns as far as the wheelchair accessibility, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I like we discussed earlier, Dave, on the Route 2 going up with the Greenway, you'd have to go up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Neil and Harold, but we're talking when it says turn right on the path and run north to 5th and Center. You're going to run up that dirt or grass hill to the end of Center and then turn left down to 4th, right? So I just think that would prevent anybody in a wheelchair from being wheeled in a wheelchair, because that was one thing that was brought to my attention. Last year's one of the races, there was, in race and walks, there was several people being pushed in wheelchairs. So it's one thing to have someone wheeling themselves up, but to have, you're talking about somebody have to push somebody up the hill. I just think that may be cumbersome and might be a problem.
There's actually runners with strollers too. That's on these.
There's what?
I didn't even think about that. You're right. There are runners with strollers.
Okay.
So, I mean, that.
On the other hand, we had a lot of complaints from runners last year in the last couple of races that the traffic was an obstacle for a lot of runners that said they wouldn't come back again because of the traffic.
So we're not going to please everybody.
I know, but I'm just giving a point.
Yeah, no, I know, it's a very good point. but clearly we're not gonna please everybody.
And at the same time, that was discussed with the route on the Greenway as far as the runners. That was brought up as far as potholes, and I said, well, whatever. I mean, you run the sidewalks, the streets. It doesn't matter. You're not going to find a smooth surface, for 5K. You're going to run into some little dips or doodle or whatever along the way. So we can't have a perfect course, but at the same time, we have to listen to their concerns, and from that, we have to make the right decision. That's all.
Okay. Well, again, I just want to mention that whatever decision is made this evening, we would want to keep this in place for this running season, and we could always revisit this. And even if there's a third route that maybe comes up, we could take a look at that as well. Neil?
We've also got to keep in mind the River Street Bridge is under construction this spring. So
That's right.
there may be a hazard.
Okay, and that's supposed to start. Okay, another point well taken. Any other questions?
I mean, the only thing is we know definitely that the Route 1 is the hardest of the two. That's the hardest as far as traffic control and.
It's, usually the Lions Club sets up everything.
Right.
I think the only real danger intersections are Parsons and Abbott and probably over by the library.
Harder lane.
So Route 1 is a Wood Memorial route.
The original
Yes,
one.
that's the original race route. Yeah.
Okay. Well, would someone like to make a motion regarding one of the routes?
Well, we know we've had success with the Woods Memorial before. I mean, we've been doing it for how many years now? That same race. I
30 years.
30.
this year.
I would move that for this year, particularly with the bridge construction in the forecast, that we go to Route 1 for this year.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ben? Any further discussion?
The only thing I would say is so it gives us a year or less than a year to try to look for an alternative route.
Yep,
for a
we could
different,
certainly do that.
an off route, the more level surface, whatever we have to do to look for more feasible for the police department and the highway department. But that's all I want to put. Yeah, but
Well,
definitely, I'm in favor of that.
And I'm gonna say that I think we need to be accessible to everybody.
Absolutely.
Wheelchairs and everyone, so I think it's important that we run a route or find a route that is accessible for everyone. So I think that needs to be, I think that's important, so.
Okay.
And honestly, as we develop the Greenway, those are some things we can keep in mind. That if we do want to run there, maybe we need to put some structures in there that makes it easier for people in wheelchairs to get through it on a route like this. So it puts some things in my mind as we might have to develop in the future.
Okay. Well, we have a motion. First, we have a second. Any
Second.
further- No, we have the second.
Oh, you have it, all right.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
Huh? I did?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we will go with what we're calling Route 1, the paved route. And we'll do that for this racing season.
And I told everybody I will get back to them and let them know what the route that
Okay.
we chose. So.
And the Lions Club is particularly interested. They want to get their
Yes,
information out
Peter
right away.
Church, right? He told me that they have to get their advertisement out soon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, update on Woods Brook. As we know, it has a history of flooding. It's going to continue to have a history of flooding. That's not going to change. The good news is that we do have a proposal to do a study. The cost is approximately $25,000 to do the study, and that's then the Wood Brook runs through from the town, runs through the town under through the village, and then back into the river. I was very hopeful that we would receive funds through our federal representatives, both Congressman Gibson and Senator Gillibrand. I have heard from both of them that they are saying that there are not funds available to fund that. However, they're saying there are a number of grants that we could look at. They said they could be very helpful in pointing us to the right direction for those grants. The overall cost to do the study, although I think it might have been like 24.5 or 23.4. It was under 25,000, right around that. Is really quite reasonable. I thought it was going to be considerably higher. So right now, there will not be any federal funds to do this. The grant cycle has begun. This is something that I think we'll be talking with the town about to see what we can do here. I know both the town and the village want to move forward on this. Once we get the study done, then we will know how to go forward. And there are grants that are available to work on that, so we'll be looking at that. But I just wanted to give everybody an update on where we stand with that. Okay, an update on Oak Mitsui. As of last week, the plant down on First Street has in fact stopped its operation. The staff are being paid through February 5. A number of staff have applied for positions with other industries and other manufacturers within our community and outside of our community as well. The Department of Labor has been very helpful in working with them to provide funds for training, and if anybody needs or wants to go back to school, that is there. The last figure that I had heard, and I just don't know, I haven't had the opportunity to get this updated, but out of the 27 people that were directly impacted by this, somewhere around 5 or 6 did have other job opportunities, and they were being, a couple of people may retire, so we're going to continue to follow through with that. The proposed demolition plans for the structure itself, I've been told would not occur before midsummer. We obviously will be keeping a close eye on that and talking to the folks at Oak Mitsui about that. So it's a very difficult situation, particularly for the employees involved. So that's where we are there. Monolith. I see Steve Irby is here. Steve is going to make a brief presentation in terms of maybe what the next steps would be for our solar.
Sure. My name's Steve Irby, for those who haven't met me. It couldn't help over here in the last conversation with people being laid off. We are hiring, so that may be an avenue that we can assist with some of them. So
okay.
We'd love to have them apply, so we're looking for good
All right,
people.
I will follow up with that.
So we do have 600 kW or 600 watts of solar going up at the proposed closed landfill. It's a good thing we did get it in because they are changing the regulations on how we can utilize these projects, but we are grandfathered because they were put in prior to December 13th of this year. So the PSC has changed the way that these are funded. In this industry, you have about 3 months to run, and then they change the rules, and then you just get used to it, and they'll change the rules again. You can see we've started a bus stop out front that is actually a solar on top of a solar PV mount, and our plan is to, when the spring comes around, to modify that into more of a bus stop looking venture with a plaque that talks about the solar in the town. And I love this coming in. I wish I would have got here a few minutes earlier. The presentation was pretty neat. As a veteran, that was really cool to walk in. So I'm not sure if I can answer any of your questions, but I do have a few handouts that talk about how remote net metering works, and I can try to pass them around a little bit if I can. But remote net metering is going to allow us to produce the power at the landfill station and credit the village anywhere we want. So with remote net metering, you could be 100 miles away from the building that you want to power, which is really neat. So it's just a continuous evolution of the solar industry, and it's going to be really exciting. So we can power, say, the DPW building from the landfill station. We can disconnect the system we have at the wastewater treatment facility and send that to this building. So it's kind of neat with remote net metering, what it's allowing us to do, so.
And you also have the capability of doing something with our streetlights?
Correct. That's our goal here,
That's a
is to
big one.
take the credits from the former landfill and power the streetlights, which is really neat because that is a huge expense for the village. So it's, and plus we're utilizing land that is basically unusable for, as DEC saying, maybe 1,000 years. We don't even know how long this land will be unusable. So now we can capture some of that space instead of just being an expense. You know, we can make it an asset.
What's the timetable on that project?
We have it submitted. The tough part there is DEC, because they're very protective about the shield that they put over the landfill and how they cap it. There'll be no penetrations. Everything will be above ground conduit, above ground ballast. So that's the $1 million question. DEC has been very supportive and they want to push these projects because it's otherwise unusable land. And it helps with their cause of trying to take that land and take it green. But realistically, I'm optimist, so I'm going to say midsummer. Realistically, it'll probably be late summer. Because we do need DEC's approval on every step that we proceed forward with.
So the application is in.
Correct.
Okay.
The NYSERDA application is in, which was great because that grandfathered us. Nobody saw this ruling coming on December 13th, which changed the way remote net metering is going to function. But we're grandfathered in under the previous option or previous payment plan. So. And we are, everyone constantly battles the PSC, but it's an uphill battle. So we're hoping that they will change their mind and bring remote net metering back. They're going to allow us to do it, but it'll be, instead of a dollar amount that we could transfer to the streetlights, it would just be a kilowatt hour credit, which doesn't really help us because we have no meters on the streetlights. We just get a bill for how many hours they presume that the streetlights are on. So even if a light bulb is blown on a streetlight, we still pay because they say, well, that's a X watt light bulb and it's on 8 hours a night, and that's what it should cost. So even if we went around and we turned them all off, we still have to pay for them. So it's a unique opportunity. It's really neat.
Now, the board will recall you gave me permission to sign the application, and we got that in.
Yep.
Do you require anything else, or will NYSERDA require any type of a formal motion or anything
Nope,
like that?
you're all set.
Documented?
You have the clause which allows you basically to say we don't want to do it. So you have that clause to withdraw anytime before we start construction. So that alleviates the burden to you and the municipality. But at this point, it was a win-win because we couldn't do it today. If we were to vote to do it today, it would be shot down by the PSC. So it was a great timing that we got it in, especially with last month, the board meeting. I couldn't make it with the
weather,
snow.
yeah.
And so we have acquired quite a bit of farmland on Route 7, just on the top of the hill if you're leaving Mobile. So we'll also have solar farms running from there that are powering Recovery Sports Grill way back in Troy. So 30 miles away, it'll be covering the Hilton Garden Inn and also all the Recovery Sports Grills. So it's kind of neat that we can be way out here and power buildings in Troy or Albany. One of the systems on Route 7 is actually going to power the new Renaissance Hotel in downtown Albany. So it's kind of neat that we can be way out here and make the power for in there.
It's even neater if we can be out here and create the
Make the
power
money.
for out here.
Yeah.
That's real neat.
But what we love about it too is it's job creation. We are a local bread company, and I loved hearing the story where you're starting and letting, garage-based business is what this country was built on, and that's exactly how we started. So we love hearing these stories where you're gonna loan money to people at a better rate and give them tax incentives. So we want to create jobs. It's the best thing for us because it's about the education, and you guys have invested in us as a company from the very beginning. So we want to return that favor and bring jobs here. So,
So 2 points that I want
Sure.
to mention. I will get the contact information to you regarding Oak Mitsui,
yes.
so that we can see
And-
if something else can be done
Yeah.
there.
And do you
Alright?
know what type of jobs they were that they eliminated?
Not specifically. I
Okay.
know you needed to be trained for those types of jobs.
Sure.
But I'll set up the contacts so that
That's
you can
great.
get in touch with them. And secondly, again, if you would, for this project that would go on the landfill, the cost to the village is,
Zero.
could you repeat that?
100% zero. I wish it was something, a little something, because they keep reducing our incentives. But we use the very first system we built, which was on top of a library that helps fund the future systems. And they all just keep going back in to help keep funding those projects as we go. The incentives keep going down, but energy rates are going up, which helps us. And you know, we all see the gas prices going down right now. It's artificial. They created it because they want us to feel good about not doing something here. They're going to go back up. I wish it wasn't the case, but we can take this away. We can take away our own energy, and every day that the sun rises, we're making that energy, and it's going to go up, but now it's going to feed more money to the village. As the price of electricity rises, there's just more money that the village is creating, because in essence, they're becoming a power company, and they're making their own power. So over 20 years from now, our kids sitting in here making decisions will have an income source from that former waste field that was costing, I think it's about $60,000 a year to maintain a former dump site. So it's definitely going to offset that cost. So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any questions?
Any
Yeah,
questions
thirdly,
about
if you
the-
want to consider relocating your headquarters out here in Hoosick Falls instead of out where you're building,
We're building a
we're
sign
wide open.
that says future home of, because we want to create these solar farms that educate. We want the schools to, take the kids out. And I know the school here in town is doing a system with one of the national competitors, which is okay, because as long as they go solar, we're okay with it. But we want to educate the kids. We want to bring them in. We want the science teachers to be able to take our broken ones and make stuff and show the kids. And they're very smart with this. They have the knowledge well beyond what I had at their age. Because everything we're talking about is sand. Everything we're building is sand-based. And everything in this is comprised of heated up sand. They took it into a silicon base and cut it up. And kids understand that. And that's what we want to teach them now, that energy can be reproduced every single day. And even a day like today, my building is still running 50% powered by the sun, and we were covered in snow. But there was enough radiant amps from that sunlight or from the snow reflection to power 50% of my building. So it's pretty neat, and we want kids to see that, because by the time they're our age, it'll probably be something like this that you put on your roof.
Yeah.
To power the house. So it's really evolving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions?
Just a
Yeah.
comment, quick comment.
Sure.
The kiosk that you have over at Key Bank
Yes.
needs more pamphlets.
I just drove by there and I was trying to peek in the window. I thought I had 15 minutes. I thought I was 15 minutes early. And I was looking in the window trying to see if I could see it. It's funny you say that.
So they could use some more.
I have a bunch right here, actually, so I should leave them with you.
We'll get them over there.
Okay. But we do residential also, and that's a lot of what we're pitching with Key Bank. And I'm just gonna leave you a couple of these, because this customer just sent me this, and I was so proud that I printed it out. But this is what an electricity bill looks like after you go solar. And you can see the bar graph just disappears after you go solar. So they show one bar graph in the month of December. You can pass these around, which is actually his credits that he's burning. So he didn't burn anything from the utilities. So he didn't pay any bill. You can see his bill for the month is $16, and we love that because the money he was paying them, he pays off his solar system. So after, 4 years, he owns the system, he pays no one. And so it's so neat that it's, I love the skeptics that don't believe solar works.
What was the payback?
It's typically, it depends on the size of the system, because some people, with 6 kids in the house are building 25.
What was this
kW.
person's payback?
His is about 4 years. They're a young couple with 2 kids, 2 babies in the house, and he put up about an 8,000 watt system. So about 30 panels. But the payback is actually day one. Does that make sense? It's actually day one, because he was gonna spend that $200 either way. He either paid KeyBank for the solar panels or he paid the utility forever. That was my residential pitch, so but thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Steve.
And we'll
Thank
talk
you.
very soon.
All right,
Thanks again.
we'll be hearing from you.
Nice job.
Thank you. Okay, next item, Hoosick Rising update. There was a Hoosick Rising meeting last Thursday. It was held over at the Community Alliance Church. We hadn't had a meeting since the end of September, and we had a turnout of about 35 people. And it was not the warmest of nights, although it was very warm in the church, very comfortable. So I think we had a very good turnout. We're going to be taking the information that we gathered at that meeting and forming into work groups to work on the different projects that have been identified. I believe the total number of projects was about 50 projects, and we're looking at about a half dozen to start work on immediately. So there'll be more information coming out about that. And many of you may have seen the Hoosick Rising banner that's on the fence on the corner. And we hope to have some more of those banners, maybe of a smaller size, and ask owners of properties that are in the process of being renovated if they would want to put those banners on their property during the renovation. Again, so that people driving through can see that there's definitely something happening within the community. Zoning update. Again, there's that training that's going to be happening for the combined zoning board and planning board. The overall update on the zoning group is they hope to have the first draft of our updated zoning laws by the end of this month. We're also talking about making arrangements to have that information put online and do it in a way that it'll be permanently online, so that if someone from out of the area is interested in taking a look at what's being done, they can do that very easily. And we can also make changes very easily. You don't have to worry about making sure all 16 copies or whatever are updated. So we're going to be looking at that. So that is moving forward. Just before Christmas, the village welcome signs were installed. And so we have 3 signs up. I think they look really good. These were the signs that people voted on in terms of which one they liked the best. Kevin really spearheaded this effort, and it was a long effort. And again, Kevin, I thank you very much for doing that. I think the signs look great. We've had a lot of feedback from people who see them, and they say, hey, really pretty neat. Looks good.
I'd like to thank Grandma Moses for doing the painting for him.
That's right. That's right. It's another effort that Kevin got involved with. Some particularly good news. Everyone will recall that last summer, we realized that we had some unanticipated expenses coming up. We had a water tank up on Rogers Ave that needed extensive repairs. We still have some work that needs to be done on the sewer line mandated by DEC. And we borrowed $185,000 to meet those expenses. Well, I am very pleased to inform people that on Christmas Eve, actually it was Christmas Eve, opening up the mail, we received a letter, a packet of information from DASNY, the Dormitory Authority of New York State, indicating that the village had been awarded a grant of $95,000, and this came through the efforts of Senator Marchione. And this $95,000 we can use it in any way that we would like. But when we first realized that we had to borrow this money, I contacted our state representatives and said, is there any way that you can help? And in this year's current state budget, there are some capital funds, and it took a while. This was not a quick quick deal here. It took several months, but again, we've received $95,000, which is a little better than half the amount that we borrowed. So obviously, we'll be taking a look at that as we get into the new budget year. We've got a number of options on how to use that money, reduce that debt. So again, my thanks to Senator Marchione for doing that.
We send her a thank you card?
Oh, yes, and I've seen her in person.
Good.
So she was very, very pleased, and so are we, believe me. Okay, Ed King talked a little bit about what's going on at the corner. And I mentioned they're having an open house for the Monahan building this weekend. But clearly work is proceeding. They hope to be open. They're still saying, Memorial Day, but I'm thinking probably early summer. It's a little more realistic. But they're pushing forward, and these are not pleasant working conditions. So it's good to see what's going on there. The police department and the highway department, as well as our utilities, water, sewer, have been working with them. We've got to try to keep the inconvenience to a minimum when they start pouring concrete and things like that, and delivering supplies, particularly off John Street. They may have to do some digging in the street as well. Neil's going to take a look at that along with Ed, and we'll follow the best practices in terms of that. But things are moving along quite nicely with that. Okay. Last item we have under old business is an update on the water situation. And I think, as everybody knows, we've been dealing with a very difficult situation. We realize that we have an unregulated contaminant in our water. It is not something that is considered acceptable, but it's there. We're working with Rensselaer County, with New York State. We've been in charge, Departments of Public Health, I should say, of both of those entities. We've been in contact with the public health departments from the state of New Jersey. I've spoken with people there. We've talked to them because they seem to be ahead of the curve in all of this. So we've received some good information from them. We've consulted with 4 different engineering firms. We've also talked with New York Rural Water and others. We've had discussions with local manufacturers. We had a meeting with a local manufacturer. We are looking at this and taking this very seriously. Now, we are going to be looking at the next steps to work on our filtration system. There are lots of different opinions out there as to what works and what doesn't. This is not an easy fix, and it is not a quick fix. It's going to take some time, regardless of where you live or how much money you have. And by the way, we don't. These funds will have to come either through grants. I've already had some initial discussions with our state representatives. We're going to be looking for things there. Again, this board, I think, has been particularly proactive with this issue, and we've taken it very seriously. Now, yesterday, I received from Rensselaer County a communication from New York State Department of Mental Health, and we have copies here so that people will be able to take that, and we'll be posting these copies on social media as well. And New York State Department of Mental Health has categorized this as a risk characterization and health effects language for PFOA. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph, but the rest of it is here, and people will be able to take copies of these. And I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. The presence of PFOA at the levels detected in the supply wells and in finished water in Hoosick Falls does not constitute an immediate health hazard. Based on specific toxicity information for PFOA, the estimated exposure to PFOA in the water at the highest level detected is at least 50,000 times lower than PFOA exposures that are known to cause health effects in animals. The detection of PFOA indicates a need to identify the source of contamination and to take measures to reduce it so that long-term exposures can be reduced and future exposures prevented. Now, we also just had our most recent sampling results come back today. And we sampled 4 different locations, and we did 2 locations, 2 of the wells again, And we did 2 locations that are post-treatment. The wells were sampled before treatment, a raw sample, if you will. And then we had the post-treatment samples. And I don't have it exactly in front of me, but the numbers ranged from 147 to 150 parts per trillion. So the numbers are going down. Now, is it where we'd like it to be? Not yet, but it's getting there. We plan to be meeting with the county as well as New York State, because they've indicated they would like to be involved in looking at some of the planning so that we can mitigate this and reduce it and hopefully eliminate it. I'm not sure how practical it is to really think that it can be totally eliminated. I don't know that that's possible, but we'll certainly be looking at that. So the next steps for us will be to sit down, plan that. We're working with an engineering firm now. They've been very helpful, and we are going to continue to go forward with this. So that is the information that we have to date. It's current as of today. Yes?
Can I just ask?
Sure.
Do you have any plans to talk with the town to try to figure out what that area of contamination is?
Sure, the town, and that's a good point, the town has been included, the town supervisor has been included in these discussions, so we will certainly be doing that. And I see we have a town council member here, so we're gonna be doing this together because it is an impact on the entire community, so yes.
I asked that question last night, but didn't get an answer, because if those wells are impacted by PFOA, how far does that extend?
Yeah, and we don't know, so we've got to look at that.
And that was my question, but it kind of fell on somewhat deaf ears. My next question is, have you talked to the EPA?
Not directly. We've talked to Rensselaer County and communicated with New York State. Now, we've done a lot of research in terms of EPA, but no, I haven't spoken directly to them.
The EPA has an entire division on drinking water and clean water. And the only thing I've been able to see is there may be funds available under the Clean Drinking Water Act.
Yes, we've looked at that, and I've seen that. And that's certainly something we're gonna take a hard look at.
The person that I've seen involved is a woman by the name of Dr. Joyce Morrissey Donahue, who just got done completing a study in 2014. It's only a draft study about the impacts of PFOA on different animals.
If you have contact information, we'd certainly be glad to take it.
I have the phone number if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, we'll get that.
But again, I don't know which way she's going to steer you.
Well, right now, we're looking for input from people with expertise in that area. There's no quick fix. You don't walk into Home Depot and say, I want one of those off the shelf. I mean, it's going to take some time. And what we've also learned is that what may have worked in location A won't necessarily work in location B because of the difference in geology and other kinds of things.
Right.
So we've got to look at all of those.
I only got as far as page 61 on the report, and that's probably, the report's probably 400 pages long that they did. And they included everything that they had. It's an interesting thing that you may want to read before you talk to her.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Is this a 2014 peer review? Is that what you've been looking at?
No.
Okay. Because believe it or not, we've read just about everything there is to read about there, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to read more. A couple of the fronts we're talking about is that we have had some discussions. One of the industries we're talking with is going to put us in touch with their experts on this as well. So obviously, as many experts as we can talk to this firsthand, preferably to research online, which we've all been doing, is what we'd like to do. There has been some discussion about hydrogeological surveys. Who's going to do that? We don't know yet, but there has been some discussion. There's also been some discussion about the ability to test the river, because it does have some impact on our wells, and we're aware of that. And every discussion we've had so far is mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. Once we mitigate, then we have to try to find out where it's coming from, not the other way around.
Well, yeah, the most important thing is to mitigate first, and then,
right.
So to get that cleaned up. Is there any consideration about anybody doing soil sample testing to see?
That's been part of the discussion, so yes, yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I would like to mention one other thing too.
Yep.
Our discussion, Mike, the other night about those other chemicals. I did speak with Josh. He made me aware tonight, we already test for those and we are not at elevated levels, so that we wouldn't be able to pass the regulations if we were.
Okay. All right, new business. This is kind of late coming in, but it is something that we need to do. We need to have a resolution adopting a veterans exemption for the period known as that's not it, is it? Yeah, as the Cold War. This would be a similar veterans exemption on property taxes that we already have in place, but we don't have it in place for this particular period of time. So this would give our veterans 100% coverage in that aspect of things. So we have a resolution, and we have right here, whereas local men and women served our country, and whereas the village recognizes their service to our country, now therefore be it resolved, Cold War veterans may receive a 10% property tax exemption for service through the periods of May 8, 1975, and August 1, 1990. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Is there a motion to go forward with that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Bobby?
Second.
Second, Kevin? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll take a roll call vote on the resolution.
Yes. Trustee Downing?
Yes.
Trustee Spray?
Yes.
Patton?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes?
Bob Ryan?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Thank you. Okay, we're going to need another special board meeting, and this is to continue with the seeker process involving future sewer line work. We had a special meeting last month that began the process. Now we're going to need to have another meeting before our next scheduled regular meeting. This will be a one-item meeting, and it's just to resolve the seeker piece. Okay, and we have that that's scheduled for January 22nd. So I would ask for a motion to hold that meeting.
Motion?
Ben, second.
Second?
Rick, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Thank you. Got the date?
Didn't get that one.
How many copies of these? Okay, moving right along. We need a motion to advertise bids for number 2 fuel oil and diesel. We'll have to determine the date for the return of those bids as well as the opening, but it is that time of year. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Bobby? Ben, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This is like one of those things you pull up, and it disappears.
Never ends.
Yeah. Crying out loud. All right. You'll recall that we had, we needed to amend one of our local laws regarding the proper traffic flow. And that was brought to our attention by the Highway Department and the Police Department as well. So we're looking for a motion to amend local law number 2 of 2002 pertaining to accommodating proper traffic flow of vehicular traffic and improve pedestrian traffic on certain streets in the 3rd Ward of the Village of Hoosick Falls, specifically Griffin Avenue. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Kevin? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rick? Any further discussion?
Yeah, specifically, what are we doing?
The issue is that the local law read parking on the north side and on the north side. Now it says
Didn't
the
say
south
south side.
and the north.
It was a misprint, or a typo, if you will, in terms of
Just
what
a
went through.
correction then, but-
So there was no way for the police to enforce parking on the south
Right.
side.
Okay.
So that's what this correction's all about. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. What, you got another one for me?
Don't know what that is, you gave it to me.
That's the intern. We'll get that. Okay, we need a motion to advertise the tentative assessment roll to be delivered to the village clerk and grievance day to be held on February 17 from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that will be done here at the village office, at the village hall. So again, a motion to advertise the tentative assessment roll, as well as setting up grievance day.
I'll make
which-
that motion.
Bobby, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Bob, thank you. Any further discussion?
Is there dinner?
I don't know.
Hey, if I'm coming at 5 o'clock, I'm coming right from work, so
Yeah, I think we provided dinner last year.
I'm just
All
making
right.
sure if I'm
All
gonna
right.
show up at 5 o'clock.
All right, we don't. Okay, we've got the first, we've got the second.
I'll
Any
vote it
further
down.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll probably be in Florida, so.
That motion, oh, good.
Dinner's
Hey, I'm
You
I'm
sure
working
tell
so
us
the rest
that.
of you remember that.
You sure and tell us that. Okay, another motion to appoint election inspectors for the March 18 village election. We have the following individuals: Sharon Davendonis, Judy Vanderkar, I don't want to mispronounce,
Mary Rankin.
Romankus.
Mary
She's sitting right
Romankus.
there.
Hey,
She's
Mary,
kinda
didn't want to
slick.
mispronounce your last
She'd
name.
let you know,
Okay.
don't worry, right, Mary?
Alice Shilen and Sandra Sargood.
Motion?
Ben,
Second.
Bobby, second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. We will need another resolution for this next item. And this is stating that there will be no village registration day for the March election. This is something that we do every year. So we'll do this by resolution, but first we'll require a motion. Is there one?
Motion.
There will be no village registration day. That's Bob D. Second? Kevin? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. We have the resolution.
It just says that.
It just says that. You're switching a lot of papers around up here. What are you doing?
It just says you need a resolution stating that there will be no registration day in the village of Hoosick Falls.
Okay. We'll take a roll call vote.
Yes, Bob.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes?
Bobby.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Kevin.
All right, that resolution is carried. Thank you. And we have one further resolution, and that is, oops, what are we doing?
Is this,
You already did that one.
He did,
He already did
okay.
that
We
one.
did that.
That's in there twice.
Yeah.
It was first, not last.
These agendas are set up to make sure everybody's on their toes.
Yeah.
All right. Resolution stating that March 18, 2015, the village election polling place for all wards will be here in the Village Hall at 24 Main Street between the hours of 12 noon and 9 p.m. We will need a motion.
Motion?
Ben?
Second.
Bob D. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
First time ever on a Wednesday.
Yeah, we had to change that, remember? You don't have it on St.
Because of-
Patrick's Day for some reason now.
Yeah, so it's a Wednesday. Oh, okay, all right.
Maybe they'll get more
We
people
need a
show
roll
up.
call for the
Yes, we
resolution?
do. Bob County.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Rick.
yes?
Bobby.
Yes.
Kevin.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the last item we have is regarding, and this did not make the agenda, but this just came in very late. We have the opportunity for an internship through Southern Vermont College for one of their students to come and to work at the water treatment plant. There's no cost to the village. Again, it's a learning experience. The application has been filled out. Again, this is tied to the college. This intern would work specifically with Jim and Josh. and would be starting, Josh, do you know?
Around the end of January.
End of
I
Jan,
don't have a definitive date.
okay. I think we've had good luck in the past when we've had these kinds of situations, and I think this is a good connection to make with the college as well. So is there a motion regarding this?
As a proud alum of Southern Vermont College, class of 1984, I will make that motion.
Will you be wearing your shirt?
Absolutely, I
All
will.
right. We have Ben for the first. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
I'd
Bobby?
second it too, if I could.
Any further discussion?
Jeff, no.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Do you have any other surprises?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Just wondering, just wondering. All right, is there a motion?
Shall I indicate that that's gonna be posted on the Gulf?
I already said that before, but we
Okay.
certainly can. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Very quick. Was there a
I have to
second?
get to bed.
Kevin? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you all.
We got no students.
Quite a bit.